I remember when I spoke to you about this, and
I'm not
it was
gonna lie, the first time when you brought it up, I was a bit like, no, defensive is not the right word, but yeah, you kind of feel like, oh my god, like it's heavy.
Hi, my name is Yudishtra. This is my wife Piya. We are a husband and wife podcast.
Hi everyone, we're back at episode 2 of our season, and today we wanted to talk a little bit about a question that we get asked a lot. Like recently, it was Christmas, New Year's, we were out with a lot of friends, a lot of family, and a question that people kept asking us, which made us reflect, was like, hey, you guys are a bit different because, I define myself as an introvert, and my husband, Yudishtra, defines himself, and everybody knows he's an extrovert. So how does that even work when it comes to a marital relationship, right? So we wanted to unpack that today and just kind of talk a little bit about this topic that we noticed that a lot of couples probably either one of them is an extrovert and the other is an introvert. And then we realized that, like, what happened to us as well, there was a lot of misunderstandings / a lot of conflict if you don't understand or handle it right? So, we wanted to talk a little bit about that today. So, but first, before that, right, from the beginning, have you ever had to ask yourself, like, am I really an extrovert, or is there an element of introvert, or you just knew? I'm pretty sure the answer is quite similar. You kind of knew that you were an extrovert.
I think the first thing was I had to first figure out what's an introvert and what's an extrovert.
Okay, correct. Because there's so many definitions to that, right? I think, like, for me, like, for a longest time as well, like, I used to think that I was an extrovert, because the truth of it is that, yeah, I do enjoy talking to people, and like I enjoy having conversations, I guess. But then I came to realize that actually I'm an introvert. So, like, the definition of that is that, so essentially there's many definitions, but the one that I guess we are talking about is, so an extrovert is a person who gains energy from being with people. And an introvert is a person who gains energy by being alone. So that is how, so whenever I tell people and define myself as an introvert, I'm basing it on that definition, because the truth of it is that I need a lot of downtime. Whereas for you, like, you always mentioned about how people give you energy.
Yes. So I think for me it was, I realized that I loved being around people. And I found that I had this feeling of, wow, I feel very energized. I feel very uplifted. And that's when I realized that, oh, okay, I think after all, I am an extrovert, and I find it, it's a very, I think for me, when I'm alone, I struggle.
Yeah, I that's the funny bit. So, like, for me, it's like the opposite. So, like I love talking to people, to have conversations, but I struggle with superficial conversations.
Okay.
Like, it's hard for me to have conversations about the weather or about the road, or like, I genuinely like to just get straight into it. Like, I like to have deep conversations with people and everything. But minus all of that, coming back to the whole introvert and extrovert thing, for me, I noticed that I really, really needed a lot of alone time.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's quite funny because I know that I've always had, like, an anxious attachment style. So basically, there's different types of attachment styles, and I have anxious attachment style. So I always thought that I needed people, or people who are anxious in relationships constantly need their partners. That's what I thought. And but the truth of it is, it's actually not, because, like, I still needed a lot of downtime, and I valued having meals on my own at home. And but yeah, I think the part that oftentimes gets misunderstood between, like, a lot of couples, and I think we had it as well, is basically, how do you navigate this, right? What happens, like, you're lucky if both partners are on the extrovert spectrum,
Yeah.
or both partners love staying in and they're more introverted. But what happens when one person is an extrovert, one person introvert? In our case, did you ever feel pressured that you needed to change yourself to suit me?
Okay. I wouldn't use the word change, but I think it was more the element of trying to adjust. And I feel that I think when I did that adjustment, maybe I adjusted a bit too much. That means I really tried to adjust myself to feel more like
A homebody?
a homebody. I think that was something that which happened for me. And how did you feel in this process?
It's so
for you?
funny because when you said that you had to adjust yourself to fit in to be a bit more of a homebody, I had a very similar experience that I felt pressured that, oh my God, like, there's a dinner coming this Friday night, I have to go. Or there's something else coming on Saturday as well, I have to go. And then there's something on Sunday and I have to show up. So rather than having the conversation with you, I assumed that I had to be there or I had to ensure that I had to be present. But funny enough, well, we had lots of misunderstandings to get to the point that we eventually had to have a conversation about, hey, wait a minute, what do you actually want? And what is your personality type? What kind of person you are. And that's when we finally realized that, oh, so you don't have that expectation. So I realized that you were okay with me maybe not coming for everything.
Yeah.
You respected that I needed my own time and space. And similarly, for me, I eventually also realized that it worked in my favor because whenever I wanted to stay in and have some me time or solo time and you wanted to head out, it worked well because I was able to have alone time at home. And then when you came back or the next day we spent time together, we realized that we both have filled up our respective cups, right? Yeah, but I guess to answer the question that you had, which is like, it was in the beginning a lot of pressure.
Okay.
A lot of pressure, not gonna lie. Yeah, and I think even when I speak to a lot of women who probably are in similar situations, or men actually, whoever who's on the introvert side, who likes staying at home, there's definitely a lot of pressure there and expectations.
Okay.
And I feel like it's so funny, like if I had known that, oh my God, if I had only had this conversation with Yudish way earlier, it would have saved us a lot of misunderstandings and stuff. Because the truth of it is that all we needed was that one conversation to say, hey, let's sit down, let's really iron this out.
Absolutely.
And I think it's also having a lot of compassion and empathy to understand that your partner is not you. Like, it's not fair for me to expect you to change who you are as a person to be like me, and vice versa, right? It's okay to have expectations. It's nice, but but how has that been for you? Like, in terms of like, was there pressure? Like, how was it from the extrovert standpoint?
I wouldn't use the word pressure per se, but as I mentioned, I think, when as I was saying, how I tried to adjust myself, to be more of a homebody and things like that. But I think for me, my one, a turning point has got to be, and I actually spoke to my therapist about this.
Oh my God, I remember that.
And I had a very honest conversation about this. And I remember, my therapist sharing and explaining a little bit about, you see, in a marriage or even maybe in a relationship.
What was the
right?
feeling that you were feeling?
Yeah. So I think it's more like we always look at ourselves as a whole, right? As a whole together, correct? But where my therapist was getting at was trying to say, is that correct? You're a whole. You are on one team together. But there are things that maybe certain things you might want to do for yourself. And there are certain things that you might want to do for yourself.
Yes.
Correct? But that does not mean you are going against this whole.
Yes.
Yes. And I remember when I spoke to you about this, And
Not
it was
gonna lie, the first time when you brought it up, I was a bit like, no, defensive is not the right word, but yeah, you kind of feel like, oh my God, like it's heavy, right? At that point of time to realize that, oh my goodness, like, are we supposed to be just going and doing our own thing?
Yeah.
But honestly, right now, I can tell you that conversation that you had with your therapist and later on when you shared it with me was a huge turning point in our marriage, for sure. I can so clearly remember when it happened and where we had this conversation and how, funny enough, when you said it to me, it was heavy, but after a while when I processed it, I felt incredibly liberated because I realized that, oh my goodness, like he needs more time to do his own thing. I need that too. And I realized that when we started doing it, we did a bit of a trial run, remember? Like we were like, okay, Yudish, you were like, I'm going to actively carve out alone time. I'm going to go to a restaurant or cafe and I'm going to read my book and do my thing, meet some friends. And for me, it was actively, I'm going to just be at home. I'm going to put my phone away. So I'm not going to be contactable. I always tell you that. Because I really want that alone time thing. And I realized that when we finally came back and had our conversation and, reconnected at night, we were we were vibrating at a very different frequency is what I would say.
Absolutely. And I think I think a very famous line you always like to talk, which you like to use, is always being present in the moment.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes, right, if you think of it, even in a marriage and everything, right, we always think that, we spend a lot of time together. We're always together. We go here together, we go there together. So it means we're spending time, what?
Yeah.
But actually, when you really decipher and you realize it's not about the quantity, but it's actually the quality.
Yeah, and I remember a very famous, I think it was Jay Shetty and his wife, and they shared a very, that was a big light bulb moment in terms of what you just mentioned. So they basically say that it's not asking your partner, I want to spend time with you. It's a lot about asking them, rather than asking them, how much time can you give me? You ask them, how much of your energy can you give me? And I think that is a huge game changer because giving time is easy. Sitting here and you being on your phone, me being on my laptop is giving time in a way, but we're not really giving each other energy, are we? Yeah, so that is something that I remember till today. And I always ask myself, like when we try and do things together, like I remember we always tell ourselves, okay, no, wait a minute, just do your own thing and then come back to it when we both can give each other energy. So yeah, that was something that was, I remember it really like, oh wow, this is,
That's a very, very interesting thing. Wow, actually, giving each other your energy.
Yeah, and then it comes back to the point of being an introvert and an extrovert, right? You get energy by being with people. I get energy by being alone. So at the end of the day, you got to fill up your own energetic cup or whatever you call it so that you can actually pour into each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I really like the point that you mentioned earlier about what your therapist mentioned, that couples, like, yes, we are a whole, right? Correct me if I'm explaining it right. Like, we are a whole as a unit, but individually, I guess what he's trying to say is that don't forget that you are an individual person of your own as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But where the therapist is getting at was more, because, sometimes we pre-program in ourselves, we're married, we want home, every single thing.
Yeah, and if we don't do it, something's wrong.
Something's wrong. That means there is no. That's not what it is. We have to be able to fill our cup first before we can pour into another person's cup.
Yeah, very true.
I think that is something that we forget because sometimes you can be pouring and pouring and pouring, but if your own cup
has got holes,
which has got holes, which becomes literally depleted, you start feeling very resentful.
Yeah, and it's still empty.
It's still empty. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think we definitely had that period of resentment. Let's be honest about it, right?
Yeah.
Talking about uncomfortable conversations, here we go. And so I think
that's why we have turning points.
Yeah, exactly, to talk about the stuff. But I mean, I'm going to be very candid and share, like, the difficult part for me was I felt that, oh my goodness, like, there was an element that I felt like, okay, we had to do a lot of things, social activities, may it be work related or related to family, related to friends. And I felt that there was a lot of like, okay, Yudish is filling his cup because he's an extrovert, so he likes doing these things. But how about time for myself. Like I used to feel so agitated, like I just never had time for myself, and it translated in me being a lot snappier with you. Sometimes like I say things that I don't mean, and then it's so funny that you think that the problem is your partner, but the hardest thing I had to do was take the mirror, put it in front of me and look at the problem, which was, it was actually a me problem. You know, I had to learn how to voice out my needs as well, which is coming back to the element of safety in a relationship, right? Like you can only openly tell me that, hey, this is what I need to go out with my friends, I need to fill my cup, and I will be a better partner when I come home, but I need this. And it's you feeling safe that you can express that, knowing that I'm not going to attack you for sharing that, and respecting that.
Absolutely.
And vice versa.
And I think there's also the other element of a very key important thing in relationships, in marriages, which is the art of communication.
Yes. Yeah. Easier said than done. Like
Easier
it's
said
so
than done.
loosely thrown.
Yeah.
What do you mean by the art of
But
communication?
I'm a very strong believer. Speak from your heart and express what you feel.
What you actually
What
feel.
you actually feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you will know yourself well enough.
But coming to that, right? Like how did you, because I remember you having that conversation with me one day and you told me that I am really struggling. I feel like I am losing myself. That's the exact words that you mentioned. Why did you want to have that conversation with me, or what led you to having that conversation with me? Was there a particular trigger point? How was that? Because I'm curious as well. I never really asked you, but I remember you had this conversation with me because you were so restless and you told me like, I am losing myself. Like I miss my friends. I want to do things. And it was very beginning of our marriage, which I guess answers the part about how you kind of felt you needed to accommodate to this. So how if you can share that a little bit.
I think for me, there's got to be therapy. It's got to be one of the main really good sources, because sometimes you don't even know what you really want or what it is. But I think as my process of it, I was uncovering a lot of things, and that's when I realized, hey, I actually miss these certain parts of life, and I realized that that's why communication is important. It's tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. I mean, when you want to express something which maybe might not be something you might want to hear, or maybe you telling me something that maybe I might not want to hear, But I always believe and look at it whenever something is being said, which maybe might be a bit hard. And, it's always good to just take a step back to reflect and understand, why is it that, for example, maybe you might tell me, why is you saying this?
Yeah, I think like for me, it's like whenever I tell you like, hey, like I just want to be alone.
Yeah.
Rather than you feeling like, oh my goodness, like I don't know what you actually feel when I tell you that.
Yeah.
But to be very honest, it's nothing to do with you. It's more of a me thing, like I've come to understand that you have your version of that, which is that sometimes you just like, hey, I just feel like going out with my guy friends.
Yeah.
So
yes.
it's not that you're picking someone over me, but the reality of it is that there's certain things that I can't give you. I can't give you bromance. Is that a real thing? Yeah, so I definitely can't give you bromance. But you get my point. So I think I needed to realize that your partner cannot fulfill every single need of yours, and that is not wrong.
Correct.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we are deemed to think that we are going to marry one person, they are our knight in shining armor, and they are going to come and rescue you and save you. I've learned that no, you have to rescue and save yourself, but you can have an ally.
Yes.
Somebody who's going to help you in your growth, and somebody who's going to like tell you, hey, I think you're going off track. I think I had to unlearn a lot of things as well about what I thought relationships were. In the beginning, not going to lie, I thought that somebody's just going to come there and just like sweep you off your feet and save you from all your problems. But I realized, no, a person who genuinely loves and cares for you is going to honor your individualism. Is that right? Is that even a word? Yeah. And also help you in your own personal growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I can tell you one thing, which is really funny and all. I don't know if you realize this, even at home, we love talking. We talk and talk and talk and talk.
Yeah,
with you,
I had to tell you earlier, save some for the podcast.
Yeah, we gotta save some for the podcast,
Yeah, oh my God, yeah. I had to tell you, Dish, that. Yeah.
So I think that is one thing that I don't know whether you're talking about introvert or extrovert.
Yeah, correct.
But one thing for sure, we definitely love talking and sharing ideas and opinions.
No.
But that makes it fun. That's what it's, that's
exactly,
what it's
exactly.
so
But
fun,
even coming to the podcast, right? So like whenever we have like after guest sessions, like you are generally very like, what is the word? Energized.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the guest episodes and I really just enjoy connecting and speaking. But I realize like when I go home, like I need so much of downtime.
Okay, yeah.
Like I'm in the room alone and it's like pitch black and I have my, just like chilling there, trying to burn a candle or something. So that's when you kind of realize like your vision and your goal is the same, but you're just two different types of people with two different personality types. And I think just trying to understand that, you feel very, I feel very safe that you understand that about me. And you even sometimes, you will offer and tell me, hey, don't you need some downtime? Or and sometimes you crack a joke and say like, okay, I'm leaving now, you have your alone time, knock yourself out. And for me, it's like I'm happily like picking you up from like yesterday. Was it yesterday? You went out to meet some friends.
Yes.
And I'm just happy to come and pick you up from wherever you are because I've had time on my own and everything. So it was definitely not an overnight thing. We didn't get there overnight.
Yeah.
But I realized that it just honestly takes communication
Absolutely. I think communication is definitely key.
Yeah.
Just a random thought. Imagine how cool this would be, right? Say between a husband and wife. You actually have got a meter.
You've talked about this.
So every day, imagine you do a daily check-in in the morning and maybe even the evening. What's your
energy level?
What's the tank at? Is it full? Is it 3/4? I think that will be actually quite a cool thing, because it's a way for each other to know. So for an example, I'm just sharing this. Let's just say, for example, if maybe your tank is a bit low. For an example, saying, my tank is at 50% or 40%. Okay, look, I think you need your downtime to recharge.
Yes.
And vice versa.
If your tank is like running low, I'm like telling you like, okay, go out there, catch up with some friends, hang out, do everything. Yeah, because the truth of it is that your spouse is a better partner when their cup is full.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the mistake that I used to make was also like, okay, no, his cup is only going to be full. He can fill it up by being with me. I can fill the cup up. I realized that I can fill some portion of the cup, but I can't fill everything. Sometimes you need family. Sometimes you need friends. Sometimes you need, like for you, like you go cycling. You you have your cycling group of friends. And for me, sometimes it's as simple as just sitting alone in a dark room. It's me having coffee on my own, going to a restaurant and eating by myself. I love doing that. So I think it's really understanding that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we also should keep in mind and know this, between partners, it is completely fine when you are opposites when it comes to, if, for example, as I mentioned, I'm an extrovert, you're an introvert. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It is perfectly fine. And you know what is very interesting? It actually gives you the opportunity to learn about your partner in the context. For an example, maybe before we got married, I didn't really understand what is an introvert.
Like how, you even asked me like, how is it somebody can just stay at home?
Correct.
Yeah.
So this way, it gives me that opportunity to answer, okay, so an introvert, maybe these are the things that they need to do, and
vice versa.
So I think it's sometimes it's pretty cool. Sometimes it's actually really cool how you have terminologies for these different characteristics.
100%. And I think it also, when you really embrace those conversations, when you really try and understand your partner's perspective, I think it really helps you. Like for me, helps me cultivate a new belief, which is that there's us, which is the things we do together, but there's also me, which is a whole thing on my own, and there's a you. And sometimes the you and the me, it doesn't always have to be the same.
Yeah.
We don't have to like the same things. We don't always have to do the same things. You can completely have like your own life. I can have mine. But I think what's important is also like something that we've picked up is that when we do this alone, like you want to go out with your friends kind of thing and I stay at home, we always have a follow-up either the day after or we have a previous day where we
Yes.
tell each other, okay, since we're going to be doing our own thing on Friday, let's do dinner either on Thursday or date night on Saturday. So I think that has definitely helped because at the end of the day, I think sometimes the core need is that in a relationship is that you want to feel appreciated. You want to feel like your partner wants to spend time with you. These miscommunications come in because you just assume that they've picked something else over you. Like, oh, he wants to be with his friends, so he prefers them over me or whatever. That's not the case, not all the time. Well, some couples may have misunderstandings, that's a different topic. But I'm talking about in healthy relationships, right? In our case, there was never a thing.
Yeah.
It was more about me wanting to just know that, okay, you can have that, but then you suggesting to me, let's do date night on Saturday. So you kind of fill all your needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I would say maybe it might be a bit of a danger if a couple is completely doing, the couple is completely doing their own thing, their own life.
Yes, they're like,
literally leading their own life and then coming back. Then I think
there's also a
to
problem.
me, I think that's a problem.
Yes, no, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
I think that's a problem.
Yes.
But it's actually finding that balance between the two of, as a couple, you're doing things together. As an individual, you're doing, certain things which fills you up.
And you being supportive and trying to understand your
Exactly.
partner's life.
And you will actually come back and realize you are pouring so much more happily because you feel, wow, my own cup is full.
Yeah.
And it's overflowing.
Yeah, and I realized that it's absolutely, and also just one last point, I also realized that it's not fair you can't change someone.
Yeah.
That's not fair to them.
Yes.
Yeah, to suit your own benefit. So I think like in my work, I work a lot with couples, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of element of like, oh, he didn't meet my expectation. I thought he's going to change after marriage. I thought he is going to prioritize me all the time. And I realized like that's actually a very unhealthy path to walk on. But I think it's having those conversations, understanding each other's love languages, that sort of thing. But yeah.
And also having those
tough conversations.
Tough
conversations, for sure. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like we're still navigating tough conversations. But one thing I can assure is that the more you do it, the better it gets.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So we just, since we were talking a lot about being an extrovert, being an introvert, we thought that, we hop on the podcast and share a little bit, and we would love to hear your thoughts. Like, who do you resonate with? Are you more of an introvert like me, or are you more of an extrovert like Yudish? We would love to hear from you. Type your comments in the chat, in the comment box.
And ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast.
Here's to the turning points that shape us.